Srila Rupa Goswami teaches in his Essence of Advice, Tannama Rupa Charitari Sukirtananu Smrityo Kramena Rasana Manasi Niyojaha Tishtan Braje Tad Anuragi Jananugami Kalam Nayada Kilamiti Upadesha Saram. The essence of all advice is to follow the footsteps of those personalities who have complete one-pointed love and devotion in the path of Braj Anuragi, Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati. Follow those personalities and try to reside in Braj, by body or by mind. However, in this path of bhakti, there's two sides, meeting and separation. It's said that these are the two sides of prem, love, meeting and separation. So I've been feeling that we are here now in New York. We are in separation from Brajadam, but it gives us an opportunity to be there by mind. And so actually, in one sense, it's different for us because most of us brahmacharis here, we've spent the most of our lives in Vrindavan, especially for the last 20 years, 15, 20 years. Sometimes in meeting, the meeting is not as strong as this meeting in separation. It's a very interesting mystery, that when you're meeting, you're not always thinking about and appreciating the beloved. But when you're in separation, the internal meeting is more strong because there's that yearning quality there. So even though one may always be in Vrindavan, if he doesn't experience what it's like being outside of Vrindavan, then you can gradually become jaded or lose a little appreciation of Vrindavan Dham. But when you're again far, you get to realize how wonderful it actually is, that transcendental Dham and the Vaishnavas there. Tadanuragi Jananugami. How great an opportunity it is to Tistan Braje, to always be in Braj in the guidance of the Anuragi Jan. And yet, sometimes by Guru and Vaishnava's order, one must also go distance. But if that is following their desire, and if one can internally remember them, hear their Harikatha, remember the Dham, then one can also be there. So this has been our meditation here, is that we hear the pastimes of Vrindavan told by the Brajabasis, Vaishnavas in Vrindavan, and watch the videos, how the festivals are going on in Vrindavan. And this can develop our further desire and attachment, and then we will be pulled there again. I remember when I first started going back and forth to Vrindavan, I went when I was 9, Prem also, we would go, 6 and 9 to Kartik. But later on, when I joined the Mutt and stayed for 6 months and then had to come back for a visa, I remember being away and remembering the Dham and meditating, simple Manasi Seva, meditating on serving in the Dham, meditating on cooking for the Vaishnavas, meditating on parikrama. And by the power of that meditation and remembrance of the Dham, I firmly believe it allowed me to stay there for the last 15 years, 16 years. And so now we're here on the order of Vaishnavas, but we can still always try to remember Braj and never be distant from Braj. And then we can be protected in our spiritual life. We are not coming here to make a palace in America. We're here to make a branch office of Braj Dham in America, to allow people from America to kind of get a glimpse of what it's like to be in Vrindavan. Like when Krishna was in Dwarka Dham, they manifested a Nava Vrindavan, a new Vrindavan. That's why we see all these places in America, New Vrindavan, New Gokul, New Barshana, New Nandagram, all giving New Govardhan in Australia, giving spurti, giving a kind of glimpse or inspiration to remember Brajadam. So we're also trying to do something like that here. And that way we can help to awaken Brajadam in the hearts of the devotees. So this is our meditation here. This is what we are trying to achieve. This is why we are building our temple. We're here as ambassadors. We are here as messengers or servants of the true ambassadors of Braj Bhakti, Srila Gurudev, the Vaishnavas, trying to establish their embassy in New York, Braj Embassy. That's what we are trying to do. So yesterday we celebrated some very wonderful festival days. Basanta Panchami, the first day of spring in India. Here in New York, it's not until March, late March, the first day of spring. But Vrindavan is ahead of the curve. Also, the Saraswati Puja is performed. Saraswati, who is all divine knowledge, wisdom, grace, learning. There is the Divya Saraswati, transcendental Saraswati, so we worship her. And she is ultimately Sakhi of Sri Krishna, Shakti of Sri Krishna. So we worship Saraswati. All students in India, you'll see, they will all worship Saraswati on Vasanta Panchami. Yesterday was also very beautiful days. Srila Raghunandana Thakura appearance, Srila Raghunatha das Gosvami, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Pundarika Vidyanidhi also, right? Pundarika Vidyanidhi was in Braja Leela, he is Radhika's father, Brishabhanu Maharaj. In Gaur Leela, he became Pundarika Vidyanidhi, and he was also the guru of Gadadhar Pandit, who is none other than Radharani. It's said that he would live externally very opulently, but he had so much prem, so much devotion. One time Mahaprabhu sent Gadadhar for his darshan. Gadadhar could not understand him because he was externally in a very opulent bedding. He had a golden spittoon. He was chewing pan masala. And so Gadadhar Pandit had some doubt. So Mahaprabhu sent him again with one of his dear associates who was an expert singer. And he began to recite the verses of Sri Krishna's glories. And Pundarika Vidyanidhi began to, all the symptoms of ecstasy appeared in his body, weeping, choked up, rolling around. He could not tolerate hearing about Braj by this Kirtaniya without experiencing all the symptoms of ecstasy. At that time, Gadadhar Pandit understood. He showed this pastime that it's not always the renunciant, the sannyasi, or the householder. Actually, in the highest level of bhakti, these things are not so consequential. For preaching purposes, sannyas, and also if you are able to follow the sadhana, it can be very helpful. Renouncing everything, mukunda sevan brata for sannyas, for worshipping Krishna. But in real bhakti, whether it was grihe tako, vane tako, sada hari bole dako, in household life or in renounced life, anywhere one is, one should just simply worship Sri Krishna. So Pundarika Vidyanidhi is his day also. Srimati Visnupriya Devi also. This is, I think, one of the days in the year that has the most holy days in one. So it's like the super holiday for the Vaishnav calendar. Srimati Visnupriya is Mahaprabhu Shakti. She is Bhakti Devi personified. Without her blessing, without her grace, one cannot enter into bhakti. We cannot get, without her shelter, how can we get Mahaprabhu's mercy? Without Mahaprabhu's mercy, we cannot understand and get Radha Krishna's mercy. So we take shelter of and pray to Vishnupriya Devi. She is full of so much transcendental glories. The Vaishnavas describe her glories. We published a book about Srimati Visnupriya Devi, and we hear so many of her glories. It's very wonderful to hear. We hear how Srila Jiva Goswami came and took shelter of Vishnupriya, and she placed her lotus feet on his head. By Mahaprabhu's own instruction, Mahaprabhu said, Jiva Goswami is like a son to me, even though externally he had no children. But he said, Jiva Goswami is like my son, because Mahaprabhu met him when he was an infant with Rupa and Sanatan at Keligram. So Mahaprabhu accepted him at that time, and he told Vishnupriya to bless him. And then Jiva Goswami from there, he went on darshan of Navadvip and saw all the pastime places of Gaur Nityananda and saw them all directly manifest by Vishnupriya's mercy, by Lord Nityananda's mercy. So Vishnupriya Devi's appearances was yesterday as well. Also, Srila Raghunatha das Gosvami. Raghunatha das Goswami's glories are so important for the Vaishnavas in our line. Vairagyara patanera reka. It's described that his renunciation was like lines in stone. He never deviated at all. But it was born out of his deep, intense anurag, one-pointed attachment for Sri Radha Krishna's seva. Therefore, he would pray in his Vilap Kusmanjali, Tavevasmi najivami tvaya vina iti vigyaya radhe nayamam charanantike. I cannot live without your mercy, O Srimati Radhika. Please accept me as your own. I am yours, I am yours. So because of this one-pointed attachment, Vairagya was very naturally and easily manifest in his life. his parents tried to marry him to a goddess on this earth. She was so beautiful. Our Gurudev would say she was more than any Miss Universe. She was so attractive. And yet he kept trying to run away from home. He was thinking, I only want to go to Mahaprabhu, to Nityananda. And again, his father, they were very wealthy, so they had guards just there to look after him, to take care of him, and to always vigilantly watch over him. And yet he would find any excuse to run away. And again, the guards would go out and find him and bring him home. So one time his mother told her husband, Raghunatha das Gosvami's father, perhaps we should bind him at night in chains. And his father, in a kind of melancholic way, he said, if we cannot bind him with all his wealth, the most beautiful woman and his wife, all kinds of opulences, whatever he desires, how will we bind him with some material kind of shackles? All these things are the most powerful forces in this world. But you see, he has so much desire for Mahaprabhu's seva. How can he be bound by this? Therefore, they were perplexed what to do. And one time he took the chance to, it's described that his family guru, Yadu Nandanacharya, needed a pujari to perform some puja. And so Raghunatha das Goswami said he would go and help, assist. And in the meantime, he did that service and he disappeared and he ran off into the forest. And he went by a very off-beaten path all the way to Jagannath Puri in like 12 days, right? He would not eat or sleep. He was only running through the forest because he had been caught many times in the normal roads. So he thought, this time I'll just go through the woods. And from all the way from Bengal to Puri, like 1,000 kilometers. But the whole time he was simply running and running and running. And if by chance he would get some chickpeas or some milk, buttermilk, then he would take that once or twice on the way just to maintain his energy and life. He had so much attachment. Before Mahaprabhu had told him, Ghare jao nahao batul. Don't be like a madman, stay at home. Krame krame bhava jai bhava sindhukul. Gradually you'll grow across this world. Don't try to rush prematurely. Mahaprabhu is telling him, be patient. In spiritual life, we should develop patience, dharyat, nishchayat, tolerance, forbearance, patience. But at the same time, with raga, bhakti, spontaneous devotion, it said you can close your eyes and run. The path of spiritual life will protect you. If you have this real anurag, real spontaneous attachment, devotion, close your eyes and run for it. Krishna will protect you. So Raghunath was like that. For some time, he stayed at home, didn't show his devotion outside. Mahaprabhu said, you should not, bhajan bhojan, saya nitin ati gopan. You should keep it confidential. Outside, that maintain external vyavahar with everyone. Means normal behavior. But internally, develop that deep attachment and service internally to Sri Radha Madhava, Sri Radha Govinda. Sri Raghunatha das Gosvami was doing this for a long time. We hear how he performed service for Lord Nityananda at Panihati. He fed all the Vaishnavas, all the devotees, received Lord Nityananda's great mercy. And then by Lord Nityananda's mercy, who is Guru, then he achieved shelter of Mahaprabhu's mercy. He got the shelter of Mahaprabhu by Lord Nityananda's mercy. Therefore we say, Heno nitai vinay bai Radha Krishna paitrinai drida kori dharo nitai pai. We must firmly clasp the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, who is none different from Guru, in order to get the mercy of Radha Krishna or Mahaprabhu. So Raghunatha das Goswami served Mahaprabhu and then served Nityananda, then achieved the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu. So there's so many pastimes of Raghunatha das Goswami. When he arrived in Puri, Mahaprabhu embraced him and was very happy to see him. And every day Mahaprabhu began to very lovingly guide him. It's described that when his father finally found out where he had gone, he sent his people to go and find out. Shivananda Sen would come every year. He asked him, and he heard that he was there with Mahaprabhu. So he sent servants and he sent wealth, and a lot of wealth because they're very wealthy. And Raghunath would use this for making regular feasts. And he would invite Mahaprabhu and all the devotees, and they would take this prasad. So he did this for some time, but then after that he stopped. he saw that Mahaprabhu was not so happy. Swarup Damodar was asked by Mahaprabhu, why did Raghunath stop these feasts? And Swarup Damodar said, he said that he is seeing you're not so happy about this. Why? Vishairana kaile malin hoyeman malin man hoyle nahi Krishna rasmaran. If one takes foodstuffs from the wealth of materialistic people, even though his father was a Vaishnava, but he was Vaishnav Prai. Mahaprabhu said he was externally serving Vaishnavas and things like that, but really mostly interested in his own materialistic life and doing that to have a good position in society and respect. So, especially for renunciants, who Raghunath was primarily serving in Puri, it said that Vishayirana kaile malin hoyaman, by eating foodstuffs given by materialistic people, the mind becomes impure. Malin hoyaman, malin man hoyle nahi Krishna smaran. That time one cannot remember Sri Krishna. Jivara lalas jayitu tudhai shishno dharan parayana Krishna nahi pai. By becoming subservient to the tongue, one will also be a follower of the other lower base impulses, tongue, belly, genitals. One will not be able to control that. Therefore, one should, it said, Vairagi Bai, O renunciant, you should be very carefully in control of your tongue. Rupa Goswami says, Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, Jiva Vegam, control the tongue. If you can control the tongue, the whole body will become controlled and you'll be able to progress in spiritual life very easily. First, you must control the tongue. It said the fish is an example. Someone who is destroyed just because they're not able to control the tongue. Someone puts bait in the water, the fish eats it, and then is caught. So for the sadhus, you have to be very careful. Bhajan, bhojan. Your bhajan and your bhojan, your worship and what you eat. You have to be very careful. So Raghunath das Goswami stopped these feasts. Mahaprabhu was very happy. At that time, Raghunath, what would he do? He would beg outside of the door of Jagannath, and whatever would come, he would take that once a day. But then he stopped. He was not happy with that. Then he would go to the soup kitchen. They would give some kind of charity, and he would take food there. Then later on, he stopped that. Mahaprabhu would ask, what is Raghunath doing now? He said, now he is taking the leftover rice that is thrown out, that has not been eaten. And even the cows have rejected it outside Jagannath Mandir. And then he will take that, wash it, and with a little salt eat that. So hearing this, Mahaprabhu went to find him when he was taking this prasad, and he caught his hand. And he said, you are taking this wonderful nectar prasad, but not giving any for me. And so he took a handful and began to eat it. And then he took another handful, was going to eat it, and Swarup Damodar stopped him. Oh Lord, this is not suitable for you. So Mahaprabhu was so pleased with Raghunath das Goswami. There's so many pastimes that it said that when Raghunath das Goswami, when Mahaprabhu disappeared from this world, Raghunath das Goswami could not tolerate separation. He thought, I shall go to Govardhan and I shall jump off and give up my life, or I shall drown myself in Radhakund. How can I live without Mahaprabhu? Then Gadadhar Pandit had left, all those Swarup Damodar had left. He was thinking, what can I do? Then he went to Vrindavan, but Rupa and Sanatan met him and took care of him. Would not let him kill himself at that point. His deep separation mood was so powerful. So that time he began residing at Sri Radhakund and doing his bhajan there. It's described he was so renounced he would not have any kutir. He just did bhajan on the bank of Radhakund. One time a tiger was drinking water nearby and Raghunath was sitting there doing his japa and meditation. Sanatana Goswami came and saw him like that and felt, how can he be in such a, dangerous position? He might get killed, something might happen to him. So he forced him. He built a nice kutir for him with the help of the Brajabasis and requested again and again Raghunath das Goswami to stay there. So when we go to Radhakund and we can see where he did bhajan and where his samadhi is. And when we go to Radhakund, we offer pranam there and do parikrama there of Raghunath das Goswami samadhi. One time he was doing bhajan at the bank of Radhakund in the hot summer. And Sanatana Goswami saw that Srimati Radhika herself was holding her dopata, her anchal, like her chadar, over Raghunath to shade him. He had so much love and devotion that Srimati Radhika herself protected him. Therefore, Sanatana Goswami made this kutir for him and requested him, please stay there. So when you go to Radhakund, you also see this painting of Raghunath das Goswami with Radharani protecting him, and also Raghunath das Goswami with the tigers drinking water nearby. It Said that even ferocious animals, when they come near pure sadhus, their hearts melt and they lose any sense of cruelty or hingsa mood, violent mood. This is the power of the pure sadhus. So Raghunatha das Gosvami resided there, and he was constantly absorbed in praying to Srimati Radhika, especially even in his old age. He would pray, weeping on the banks of Radha Kund. He would sing prayers to Srimati Radhika, go deep, deep into his meditation and smaran, and after a long time, sometimes he would come out and he would express a verse, and then later it would be written down. So all his kirtans, like all his tavamala, all his different prayers, tavavali, like Vilap Kusumanjali, were composed, and they are the wealth of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It's described that if you want to follow Rupa Goswami, you must take shelter of Raghunatha das Goswami. Rupanuga, we are called Rupanugas. The first Rupanuga is Srila Raghunatha das Goswami. Therefore, at every chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita by Kaviraj Goswami, he prays Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jara As. He prays to Sri Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami. So therefore, we always pray to Raghunath das Goswami that if we want to follow the path of bhajan, we must take shelter of Raghunath das Goswami. His love was so great, said that he would constantly be praying, Kotai go prema moi radhe radhe, deka diya prana nato radhe radhe, tomar kangal tomai dhake radhe radhe, niyam kore sadai dhake radhe radhe. Srila Gaurakrishna Das Babaji Maharaj took shelter of Raghunath das Goswami and would sing this. He wrote it down that, oh Raghunath, he was always chanting Radhe Radhe. Oh, where are you? Please give me your darshan. I am your fallen, humble beggar, your lowly beggar, begging for your mercy. Please, oh Radhe, give me your darshan. In this way, ek bar dake keshi gate, abar dake vangsivate. He would wander throughout Braj, sometimes at Keshigat, sometimes at Vangsivat, calling out Radhe Radhe. एक बार धके राधा कुंदे अबर धके श्याम कुंदे एक बार धके ताल वाने अबर धके तमल वाने एक बार धके कुमुद वाने अबर धके गोवर्धने राधे राधे मुके राधा राधा बोले बसे नया नेर जले crying out ha radhe, tears would fall from his eyes like torrents of rain. Brindavane kule kule kedar bhedai radha bole. He would wander throughout Brindavan like a madman, only calling out to Srimati Radhika. In this way, we pray to Raghunatha das Goswami, please give me one drop of your devotion, your love. Chapan danda ratri dine janena radha govinda vine tarpar chari danda suti thake swapne radha govinda deke. His absorption was so great in bhajan, he would not even, for 23 hours of the day, he would be awake doing bhajan. For 1 hour, 1.5 hours, he would rest. At that time, he would also be chanting Radhe Radhe. So these are the glories of Srila Raghunatha das Goswami. It's described that he would eat only a palmful of buttermilk or a few chickpeas. And the Brajbasis would bring him this every day. One Brajbasi thought, oh, he is not eating so much. I will bring him a big leaf cup of buttermilk. So when Brajbasi brought a big leaf cup for him, very different. And Raghunath said, where does this come from? He said, Sakhi Stali. Raghunath took it and flung it. Why have you brought me this from Sakhi Stali? Don't you know? This is from the anti-party, Vipaksha. This is from the opposing party, from Chandravali's party. I can never take this. Radha Paksha Chadi Jejan Sejan Je Bhave Se Bhave Take Amito Radhika Paksha Pati Sada Kabu Nahi Heritaki. I will not look at the face of anyone who is not favorable to my Srimati Radhika. Anyone may be so glorious, but they're not favorable to Radhika, not in her group. I will not take anything from them. Even though it was only a leaf cup, but it was from that place, so he said, I will not take. This was his dedication to Srimati Radhika. One time he was showing the glories of Manasi Seva, meditation and service in the mind. And he was offering every day very nice sweet rice kheer to Radha Shyam Sundar. And it's described in his meditation, every day he was doing this. So it was so nice that Krishna one day asked Radhika, oh, who has prepared this? And she asked Lalita Vishaka, oh, Raghunath has made this? He said, you should go give him some of this prasad. Let him see how wonderful this tastes. So they took the prasad to Raghunath and gave it internally. Then externally in his body, some bloated stomach manifested. And he began to burp and have discomfort. The physician was called. They checked his pulse. Ayurvedic physicians are very qualified. They said, oh, he's definitely taken some rich food stuff, like some almond kheer. Ayurvedic doctors are very good at that. You can simply touch your pulse, hold it for a few minutes, a few seconds even, and tell you what your ailment is. So the villagers came, they said, it's not possible. Every day he only eats this leaf cup of buttermilk. He cannot have this. It's not possible. The doctor said, no, I'm telling the truth. So they asked Raghunath, what did you eat? He said, yes. Every day I offer this. Today Radha Sham Sundar came and gave me the prasadam. And so why did this happen? By taking prasad, can you become sick? No, they wanted to show the devotees that this Manasi Seva, internal meditation, in Kali Yuga especially, if you do it in your mind, something good, you get the pious merits for it. Even in Dwapara Yuga, when Krishna appeared, it said that Devaki Vasudev in the jail, they offered thousands and thousands of cows to the Brahmins and so much charity and reaped the benefit of that. So if you do anything good in your mind, you can get the positive result. So he showed, especially the topmost thing is to serve Radha Krishna with divine love in this way. So these are some of the glories of Srila Raghunatha das Gosvami. We prayed to him. Till the end of his time, he was always meditating and serving Sri Radha Madhav. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami took shelter of him, and under his guidance, by his blessing, he wrote Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Govinda Lilamrita, and so many granthas. Srila Raghunatha das Goswami himself wrote so many wonderful granthas. When he was always reading the books by Rupa Goswami, he would send him, when he would finish something, that many of them were full of a lot of moods of separation. And Raghunath, reading and reading, he would weep, and then the ink would become like messed up on the page. And Rupa Goswami, then he thought, how can I change his mood? So he made a comedy just for him, Dan Keli Komodi. And Raghunath read that, and he began to become so joyous. So these are the powers of the Vaishnavas, how much devotion they have. Therefore, we pray to Raghunatha das Goswami today that we especially take shelter and pray with his verses of Sri Vilap Kusumanjali, how he prays. Padabjayostava vina varadasya meva nanyat kadapi samaye kila deviyache sakyayate namostu nityam dasyayate rasostu satyam. I only pray to Srimati Radhika, please accept me as your das, servant of your servant of your servant. Matsamonastapi pavatma. I am so fallen and lowly, but please, I have one hope, that you will please accept me as your das, servant of your servant of your servant. That's my only prayer. So today we pray to Raghunatha das Goswami and all the Charyas. Today is also the appearance of Srila Raghunandana Thakura. Mahaprabhu once asked him, he asked his father, who is the father? Raghunandan is the father, or you are the father? Mukunda Prabhu. Mukunda, his father, said, Sakala janama mata pita sabe pai Krishna bhakti nadin rakina lukai. Every birth we have a material mother and father, but they do not give us Krishna bhakti. Therefore, wherever we get Krishna bhakti, there our true mother, our true father. Therefore he said, he has so much bhakti, therefore he is like my father. Why? Raghunandan was famous for serving Gopinath. That Gopinath was their family deity, and once Mukunda, who was a doctor, would travel here and there in his profession. So he told Raghunandan when he was a young boy to serve the deity of Gopinath. But Raghunandan was very simple-hearted. His father said, make sure he eats, make sure you offer something. So he would offer the sweets to Gopinath, and he saw that nothing was touched, the plate was there. So he prayed and wept, Gopinath, why aren't you eating? Please, you'll become hungry. He begged with so much sincere, simple devotion that the Lord appeared directly and ate all the offering. When his father came back, he said, please give me prasad, Mahaprasad. He said, all the prasad is finished. Gopinath ate everything. So he was astonished. Again, he asked him. Again, he did it. The same thing happened for some days. Then Mukunda said, okay, again offer. And that time Mukunda hid to see, because he was thinking maybe my son is eating it himself. So he was hiding one time, and he saw that Gopinath was shy this time because he knew his father was watching. So Raghunandan was praying, why haven't you taken? Please, please, please take. So finally Gopinath came and started taking a laddu, and Mukunda came out and offered pranam to the Lord. And then the Lord stopped with the laddu in his hand. So this form of Gopinath is present. They're holding half a laddu. So this is the power of Raghunandan's devotion. So we pray to all these acharyas, please give us a drop of your love. Maybe tomorrow we'll speak about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and a little more about Visnupriya Devi, if we have time. So today we pray to all the Vaishnavas for their mercy, for their shelter, that we can develop this Braja Bhakti. Vancha Kalpadurubhisya Kripasinubhyo Chapridanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.